Hello, dear students, and welcome to a new lesson about Julius Caesar, written by William Shakespeare. I hope you're starting to like this play, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I enjoy teaching it. Who can remind me of what happened last time? Do you remember who Julius Caesar was? Exactly. Julius Caesar was the ruler of Rome. People loved him very much. Do you remember who didn't love him? Exactly, it was Cassius. Cassius didn't like Caesar. He was talking with Brutus about Caesar's power, and both of them were worried about Caesar's power. Later, Cassius, Brutus, and a group of other men agreed to kill Caesar. So this time we will see what happened. We will see if they followed the plan, if something happened. A lot of surprises will or would take place here. As usual, I want you to pause this video and go to your readers page 42. Start reading starting from the dot on page 42. It starts with the next morning, Caesar's wife Calpurnia, and so on. Until the top half of page 46, until the dot on page 46. And on the CD, I want you to listen to tracks B, C, and D. These three tracks are reading these audio files are reading the parts that we are discussing in today's video. Okay, so after you have finished, or I think you have finished reading the part that I told you to read, we are going to take a look at the events of this part. Okay, so the part that we are discussing today starts with Caesar. He was getting ready to go out to work. His wife Calpurnia was very frightened because she had a bad dream of Caesar. She dreamt that Caesar was killed. It was a bad sign, or a sign in itself, a sign for Caesar not to go out. But would he stay at home? Let's see. So Calpurnia told Caesar about that dream and asked him not to go out. He agreed to stay at home and send Antony to do his work instead. Decius asked Caesar if he was ready to leave, and Caesar told him that he wasn't going out. Decius told him that the people were planning to make him king. So Decius was Caesar's friend, and was one of the men who wanted to kill Caesar, so he was an evil character again. He wanted to make sure that Caesar went out to kill him as planned. But when Caesar told him that he wasn't going out, he tried to convince Caesar by telling him that the people were planning to make him king. He wanted to find any way to make Caesar go out in order for the plan not to be replaced or destroyed or anything. Okay, after that, Decius told Caesar that people would make fun of him because he listened to his wife. Finally, Caesar agreed to go out. So he was still trying to convince Caesar to go out. He told him that people would make fun of you for listening to your wife's fears. So Caesar finally agreed to do this and go out. In the building, Brutus, Cassius, and the other men wanted to get closer to Caesar, so they told Metellus to ask Caesar to bring Metellus' brother back to Rome. Caesar refused his request. So they wanted to get closer to Caesar to be able to kill him. Metellus was one of them. He had a brother, and this brother did something wrong, and Caesar sent him away from Rome. So Metellus was asking Caesar to forgive his brother and bring him back. But Caesar refused because He was a proud man who never changed his mind. Whenever he took a decision, he didn't change his mind at all. Cassius and the other men ran towards Caesar and began to push their knives into his body. So suddenly they began to run towards him and pushed their knives into his body, killing Caesar, as you can see in the picture. Brutus joined the others. He stabbed Caesar with his knife. Caesar looked at him sadly and said, "You too, Brutus." Then Caesar fell to the ground and died. So Brutus, or Caesar's friend, was the last one to stab Caesar, to push his knife into Caesar's body. Caesar was shocked to see that he got killed by one of his best friends and said, "You too, Brutus." He was so shocked, he was so surprised, and this surprise was not in a good way, of course. Then Caesar died, sadly. Antony couldn't help Caesar, and later he went to the men to know the reason for killing Caesar. He told them if they wanted to kill him, they should do it with the swords that were red with Caesar's blood. So Antony failed to save Caesar. He went later to the men because to these men because he wanted to know why they killed Caesar. He told him that they should kill him too with their swords, which were red with Caesar's blood, still fresh with blood. Brutus told Antony that they wouldn't kill him. As you can see, their hands are red with Caesar's blood. He told him that they had killed Caesar for the sake of Rome and that they loved Antony like a brother. So Brutus tried to tell Antony that they weren't killers. No, we are innocent people. We are good people. We did this for the good of Rome, for the sake of Rome. They did this for the Roman people. And Caesar was so dangerous. That's why they had to kill him. Of course, this was a very silly reason, but Brutus was convinced that this was the right thing to do. Antony shook their hands and told him that he loved them and agreed with them. He asked for their permission to show Caesar's body to the people and to speak at the funeral. Brutus agreed. So Antony told them that he loved them and agreed with them. Do you believe this actually? Was he really with them and on their side? Of course, no. He was trying to fool them. He was trying to deceive them. This was not true. He wanted to show Caesar's body to the people and speak to them, and we will see what would happen. Antony wanted to turn the people against the killers. He wanted to make the crowd angry with these men, with these evil men. Because of course you remember that we said people loved Caesar, so they will be so angry about his death. So Cassius didn't like the idea of letting Antony talk to the people because he could turn the people against them. That was his plan, of course. So Brutus told him that he would speak first. Cassius felt that Antony was up to something or was planning to do something, but Brutus tried to assure him and told him, "Don't worry, I'll speak before him." Brutus wanted to tell the people why they killed Caesar. After the men left, Antony looked sadly at Caesar's body and promised that he would take revenge on the men who killed him. A servant came to tell him that Octavius, Caesar's nephew, was on his way to Rome. So The mask was down now. This was the true Antony. He was very sad for for his best friend's death and promised to kill all these men. A new character will appear, Octavius Caesar. Caesar, he was Caesar's nephew, his brother's son. He was on the way to Rome. He didn't know about his uncle's death. He was planning to visit him, a normal visit. So, what will happen when Octavius finds out? Let's wait and see next time. So, now we are going to, as usual, look at the very important quotations that were mentioned in this part. Okay, the first quote on this part says, "If you go out, perhaps something bad will happen to you." You will find this quote on page 42. From the picture, can you tell me who said this? Exactly, it was Calpurnia. So this quote was said by Calpurnia to her husband Caesar. She tried to stop him from going out because she had had a bad dream of Caesar being killed. He listened to her at first, but then he ignored her request and went out. Following quotation is, "Give me your permission to show his body to the people." You will find it on page 45. Can you tell me who said this? Exactly, it was Mark Antony. So these words were said by Antony to Brutus, Cassius, and the rest of Caesar's killers. He was trying to fool them to believe that he was on their side. He was trying to deceive these men. However, he wanted to speak to the people to turn them against the killers. Okay, following quotation is, "Don't give Mark Antony permission to talk to the people." You will find it on page 45. Who said this? Exactly, it was Cassius who said this to Brutus. He didn't like the idea of Antony speaking to the crowd, and he was very afraid that Antony would make the people angry with them. Moving on to the last quotation in this video, it says, "You were the best and greatest man who ever lived." You will find it on page 45 as well. These words were said by Antony to Caesar's dead body. He made a promise that he would take revenge against the men who had killed Caesar. He planned to turn the crowd against the killers and to kill him. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our video today. I hope you are enjoying this play and the action that is happening right now. I will see you inshallah in another video discussing part 3 of Julius Caesar. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.